Hey, this is Hannah with Theology Therapist. Welcome. Great to see you today. So today I'm kind of picking up a loose thread from last week's video with talking about seasons. How many of you have ever gone into sort of like May through September and thought, all right, I've got 8 weddings in the next 4 months. How am I gonna make this work, right? Really a fair thought. Since the price of going to a wedding is usually about how much the gift, right, that you want to give. It's usually about how much your dinner may have cost, and with the prices of inflation and prices going up. What are we at now? Like $200 a person, if not more. And then don't forget, if you're going with your significant other, make it $400. And you've got 8 weddings this season. I'll do the math with you really quick. Don't worry, I'm not so great at math, but I did this ahead of time. That's $3,200 alone just on wedding gifts, not on travel, not on any other thing like that it may have cost to get there if you're in the bridal party or nothing, just on wedding gifts alone. I mean, we all love our friends, but that is some serious cash, right? So I wanted to follow up on this theme about yearly rhythms from last week. There is a wedding season, and there are even movies made about the politics of the whole affair. From the +1 to the in-laws, to the sisters, to the friend drama, there is no lack of stories at what can happen at weddings. I myself can attest to this because I just got married. And even though I was determined not to be a stressed out bride or a bridezilla, I did arrive to the wedding completely stressed out and exhausted. Although I can say that people told me I was not a bridezilla, so take pride in that. It was an incredible day. It was a day that dreams were made of, but luckily not my dreams because I was having nightmares about the flowers not showing up. It was quite an international wedding, with people arriving from 6 out of 7 continents. And after 2.5 years of postponing it, we couldn't be happier. But I have to tell you the truth. There were still some disappointments. After it was over, and sitting on my couch and racking my brain for cultural evidence in support of or not of what happened. And honestly, it was confusing because there are so many mixed messages about weddings. And I feel like we don't really talk about this. Where I grew up, weddings happened the same way each time. This is sort of why I grew up hating weddings. You got married at the church that you went to for free. There was likely a potluck afterward where each guest brought a dish. And if they didn't want to cook, they went to the Taco Bell nearby and they got 99-cent tacos. One church lady made some fancy punch, non-alcoholic, and they decorated the hall with the same decorations that they used on the last wedding, most likely. This is usually what happened. It looks very nice. You get to celebrate the couple. That's the wedding that I grew up with. Then, fast forward, I grew up and I learned that people have 12 bridesmaids and expect to go to Vegas or Miami or Mexico for their bachelorette party. The wedding happens at a country club or a vineyard with 300 of their closest friends and family. My wedding, on Lake Como in Italy, a vintage Fiat 500, speedboat on the lake, 6 hours of catered food, DJ and dancing, open bar. I really had no frame of reference for this sort of thing. And you know what? I've heard from others that they themselves, who are in the midst of this wedding season as well, and they confirm that it can be really hard to know what to expect from this social occasion when everybody's expectations are all different. Family members or in-laws who choose not to come because they are unhappy with the wedding, guests canceling at the last minute, guests not bringing a gift, vendor disagreements, and as always, the most important one, the way it should go in your mind or my mind versus the way that it actually goes. The last one is the biggest one of them all because if it doesn't match up what's in your mind and the expectation that you have, with the reality of what it actually ends up being, then there's a conflict. This can be hard when you're like me and you're coming from a religious background, but you may no longer believe the same things or want the same sort of like religious tropes in your wedding that you saw when you were growing up, or the example that you had for always. In your mind, you may now have a new concept of, maybe you've gone to weddings as an adult, or maybe you just have in your mind of like what would be really important to you to have at your wedding. And you may find that if you've grown up in a religious environment, a religious community, a religious family, that there may be people who have a hard time accepting that. It's most important, again, that you are clear with your expectations, but not only with others, but you are clear with those expectations with yourself. Be honest with yourself about what you expect from the people who show up that day. And I think that, at least for me, is really hard to do. And then if for some reason these expectations aren't met, which is highly likely given the amount of couples that I've spoken to who have gotten married, allow yourself the time and space to feel the emotions that come up around that disappointment, or around that experience of your expectations not being met, and not looking like what you wanted it to look like. This whole accept the emotion that I feel, like accept the disappointment or the confusion or frustration that I feel, the anger a little bit, that one, it's really hard for me to do. I really want to be chill. I want to be chill. I want to go with the flow, easy peasy, but there is not a lot of chill about me. So what ends up happening is that I end up stuffing down and negating my emotions about the thing in an attempt to get over it. But this never works, and it always kind of like bubbles underneath the surface until one day, boom, it comes back up and it hits me again, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm still mad about this. Or it ends up like kind of just adding supporting evidence to whatever I'm mad about, right? About this person or these people or these friends. So accept it. You are mad. Sit with it until at some point it loses its sting and you can loosen your grip on it. It's really the only way through emotions. You have to go through the dark tunnel in order to get to the light at the other side. And that's how emotions work. You have to feel them until they burn out. So if you want to feel something new, if you're tired about feeling frustrated or disappointed or any of those things surrounding wedding season, whether it was your wedding, whether you were the guest, whether you were the maid of honor or a bridesmaid, whether you were a groomsman, any of these things, if you were the family involved, right? If you're tired of feeling all of these things around a wedding, then I challenge you to accept the feeling that you're feeling and to really sit with it. Doesn't mean if you're mad, you go be mean to the people that you're mad at. It just means yeah, I feel bitter about that. Okay, period. Until little by little you feel a little less bitter, right? Or just a little less gripping onto the bitterness, really, right? It's gripping onto the bitterness. That is really what keeps us from moving on. So if you resonate with any of this, I totally get you. If you found it to be helpful, please share it with a friend or leave a comment below about what helped you. It was great to talk to you again today. Remember to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all weekly new releases. Great to see you. See you next time.